Welcome to InDesign Secrets, episode 315. I'm Anne-Marie Concepcion, and I'm here along with my lovely co-host, David A. Blatner.
And remember that InDesign Secrets is the essential resource for all things InDesign.
That's right. 999.
Brought to you by CreativePro.
That's right. In today's show, wait, you know what? I was thinking, David. Back when I introduced you as David A. Blatner, I really think your name should be David PowerPoint InDesign Blatner. You know why, right?
No, why?
Because then your middle initials would be Pi. How about it? Yes?
PowerPoint InDesign.
Yes.
Blatner. Pi. David Pi
Blatner.
Blatner. That is something I've never thought of before. Thank you.
All right.
I'm moving right along. You're still caught up in Pi from our last episode, episode 314.
That's right.
Where we talked all about InDesign and Pi.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. In today's show,
yes,
we have some short bits of news as usual. We're going to have an interview with Nolan Haims, presentation designer extraordinaire, who is both a PowerPoint and an InDesign designer. Okay, and then we're going to do another deep dive. Remember, we started this a few podcasts ago. We're going to deep dive into one dialog box or panel in InDesign. And today it is the secrets of the panel with the longest name. And I checked. It is the one with the longest name.
Is it? Okay.
Yes, so stay tuned. And the obscure feature of the week is apply to parents page only. This is another David suggestion, which off the top of my head, I don't know where it is.
All right. It's going to be fun.
Okay.
Oh, that's that's my cue. Quick. News.
News.
InDesign 19.1 came out, disappeared, and it came out again. So we're hoping that seems to be out. I have it now. It does not seem to fix all of the problems having to do with right-to-left text, like Arabic or Hebrew text. So hold on. I know that Adobe is working on it.
Some of them.
It does.
Some of them.
Yes. Okay. It's great. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. So we're hoping 19.2 will come out any moment now. Maybe by the time you're listening to this. So we'll put a link to the.
But in the meantime, if you do that kind of publishing, people should stick with InDesign 2023.
Yeah, definitely.
18 point whatever.
Yep, definitely. And just hold tight. It'll be here soon.
Right.
They made some major changes in, it's the whole harf buzz thing, which I don't want to get into it, but it has to do with how they draw shapes of characters, and it screwed up a bunch of stuff, I think. So, ouch. But anyway, 19.2 is coming. Hopefully that'll be fixing it. Online events. We've got a couple of online events coming up. The Presentation Design Conference is going to be March 6th through 8th for InDesign users who are interested in presentation design. If you want to get up to speed with PowerPoint and other tools, check that out. Also, of course, as you mentioned, Nolan Haims is going to be here in the studio, and we'll be talking to him. He's one of the speakers.
It's an online conference. We've got to keep, because it's called a conference instead of a summit like the other summits are. I always get like a little confused. So it's a presentation design conference, but it's online only. Live, and the sessions will be recorded, but you don't have to travel anywhere to attend.
Excellent point. Also coming up is the InDesign and Long Documents Summit, April 5th. This is a one-day event. If you make long documents, books, proposals, anything long, big stuff.
Bibles.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. If you're making long documents with InDesign, you must check this out. All kinds of great insights into how to use InDesign for long documents. So that's going to be fun. And it also comes with a bunch of scripts. We're going to be giving all the attendees a bunch of long document scripts and that people should be using for InDesign, and also some templates that people could use. So that's going to be fun. CreativePro Week is also coming up, July 8th through 12th in Washington, D.C. and online. It'll be live streamed. CreativeProWeek.com. You can learn more about that. That's going to be, we're just about to release the agenda, and I'm so excited. It's going to be full of very, very cool stuff. What else? Other news? CreativePro magazine. Lots of good issues, lots of good articles coming out, especially if you're interested in Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator. We're talking about how there are a bunch of AI tools for Illustrator that people don't even know about. So we're going into depth on that. So good stuff.
Okay. So let's turn to Nolan, who just walked in. I see him taking off his shoes, as a polite person should do when he comes inside.
Nice. Thank you, Nolan. Yes, let's just jump in with our interview with Nolan Haims. That'll be lovely.
Hey, Nolan, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Good. Let me give
Thank you for having me on.
Well, you're welcome, and we'll send you the invoice at the end of this.
Excellent. Good.
I just want to tell our audience who's not really familiar with Nolan is that he is one of the best presenters I've ever seen. I've seen him present at many conferences, and I'm going to read from his bio. He has decades of experience designing visual communications for the largest brands and organizations. He speaks at national conferences, writes extensively on visual storytelling, which is really what most designers do, right, for a living. And he's one of the co-hosts for the long-running Presentation podcast. I didn't know this, Nolan, but you are one of only 15 Microsoft PowerPoint MVPs.
In the U.S.
In the U.S.
Approximately.
Right.
The numbers always change a little bit, but
yeah. And
so
you regularly tell the PowerPoint development team what is going on and what to do and what they're doing wrong. Is that right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. They listen. Do they act on it?
Sometimes.
You're the author of the BetterDeck.com.
Better Deck?
Better Deck. I thought that was a typo. I saw that. I'm like, I must have messed up. BetterDeck.com, and you run your own design consultancy out of beautiful Montclair, New Jersey. Does that about sum it up? Though I don't see InDesign anywhere in that bio. However, you started out as an InDesigner, didn't you?
I did. I mean, I started off as I still am a graphic designer, and I taught. I think the first teaching I ever did was InDesign. And I remember there was a software company in New York, and I was doing a lot of presentation design, and I went in and I think we were talking about delivering a PowerPoint training or a presentation training, and there wasn't the need, or they or it didn't work out, whatever. But they said, but can you teach one of our InDesign courses? And I said, well, I mean, I use it, I do it, I've never taught it. And they said, oh, well, if you can teach PowerPoint, you can teach anything. And I did. And so actually, you're just reminding me now that I think my first official training sort of duties were, other than teaching people to juggle in my previous life. But I've taught various things over the years. But yeah, my first software training was InDesign.
And it's interesting because as a designer first, you were doing presentation design and graphic design, which there's clearly overlap, but I think it's interesting to tease those apart a little bit. But you've straddled those two worlds for a long time, and I'm so curious about that. I guess maybe what I should ask is, how do you tease those apart? How do you separate graphic design and presentation design?
I mean, I don't know. I started off first working in Cork, even before I knew about PowerPoint, and dealing with that. And then, I just picked up presentation because I was asked to. I was temping. I had a boss who said, I have to deliver this presentation. Can you make it for me? And, not in Cork at that time wasn't going to, make sense to do it. And I said, yeah, PowerPoint's the tool for that. It's like, and so I just picked it up, and because you're one of the few people that do something, you keep getting asked more and more for that.
Right.
And it was like, okay, you want to give me a paycheck for that? Sure. And, through all this, I, transitioned from Cork to InDesign. And then I still work in InDesign. I still do projects in it. I was just doing one the other day. I love it. It's a great program. I probably would even say it's my most favorite program. Just because of the power, in PowerPoint, you're always can't do that, I can't do that, and you figure workarounds and everything. InDesign, I'm always saying, oh my god, I didn't know I could do that. Or like,
right,
and it's incredibly powerful. But I go back and forth depending, and I tell clients a lot. One of the things I'm known for is doing print work in PowerPoint. And this is going to horrify some people.
Right.
And I've given some sessions on it at CreativePro and elsewhere. because when I start with a client and they say, oh, sometimes they'll say we need a presentation, and I'll start asking them questions. And actually, what they need is a report or a handout or something. And I said, so it's not a presentation, it's a print. And they're like, oh yeah, I guess so. And then we have the conversation. Okay, should this be InDesign? Like, is this being professionally printed? Do you need it to look the best it can? Blah blah blah. How long is it? But in a lot of cases, they'll say, well, it's just like a 10-page report, and we need to control it. We need to edit it constantly. It's going to be updated all the time. And we don't want to have to come back to you. And we don't have InDesign. We don't have those capabilities in-house. And then I'll say, okay, then fine. We'll make it look exactly the way it would look in InDesign, but we're simply going to design it in PowerPoint.
So do you do a portrait lamp in PowerPoint? I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, you can do any. I've done square in PowerPoint. And you can do anything you want. I mean, just like in InDesign, doesn't have to be portrait. Could be anything. Could be landscape. Right. So so we do that. We use real fonts. We use 11-point type. We use columns. PowerPoint actually has a column tool. And I list sort of all the pros and cons. And I'll say, look, we're not going to be able to do this. Like, if you have 100 footnotes, we're not doing that. If you need like chaptering and this, like, and auto table cut, like, no, that's not going to do it. But if you need the capability to swap things in and out quickly and split it up and have 10 different people working on this and throw in a page without, something getting messed up down the road, that's why we're not using Microsoft Word, by the way, because it's so hard to use. And I'll say, you client know how to use PowerPoint very well, so I'm going to set it up for you, and then you'll be able to just make it look like a good.
Well, and I love this point that looking at InDesign and PowerPoint, because they're both basically aggregators. They're both basically page layout tools.
True.
It's just PowerPoint tends to be, the page tends to be a screen, and InDesign, the page tends to be a printed piece, but not all the time, right? InDesign can be used for interactive documents, and PowerPoint can be used for print. Now, there are some differences, though. As you said, InDesign gives you a lot more control over all kinds of long documents is one thing. CMYK, of course, is a.
I was just going to ask that. So, like, if you have a CMYK image and you import it into, is there a links panel in PowerPoint?
No, but there are some third-party tools that allow you to, for example, swap out like if you have 10 instances of an image, there's a third-party add-in that allows you to change all 10 of those, like under the hood. Because PowerPoint is just an XML container. I actually don't even know exactly how InDesign is programmed and everything. But yeah, I mean, it's in the UI, you see it as a container with links. PowerPoint really is the same thing. It's just under the hood a little bit more. So you can crack into it. And I mean, you actually can link images, but it's just not the workflow we recommend. So generally things are embedded, but at the end of the day, they're technically linked under the hood, and you can kind of get in there and make some changes.
Yeah, InDesign, just on that point, InDesign is actually a database. It's not XML container, but it is a container for all kinds of stuff. And you can get an XML representation of that if you export to IDML. We've talked about that on the podcast previously, that when you export to IDML from InDesign, you're basically getting a zip archive with a lot of XML and other stuff in there, but mostly XML. So there are some interesting overlaps. With PowerPoint, you can kind of do the same thing. A PPTX, you can unzip. That too is an archive. You can unzip and get the content out as well, right?
Yeah, you just change the what's it called?
File extension.
The extension, right? You just change that to ZIP, and then you can open it like any other zip file. Now,
can you then edit stuff and then rezip it? Turn it back into a PPTX?
Sometimes, but that can also mess things up sometimes as well. But I have friends who do. There are ways of going into it using some sort of quote unzip programs where yes, you can go in and edit the XML, and people do it all the time because there are a lot of default things you can't do. But if you know how to edit the XML, you can.
I have on a segue here, a different related question. So because you've had you've been steeped in both InDesign and PowerPoint. I know that a lot of designers create presentations out of InDesign because they're comfortable with that. And I do the same thing. But one of the big features that I miss that PowerPoint has, of course, is being able to do builds So if I want something with 7 bullets, and every time a second or third one comes up, the other 2 are grayed out that I've already shown, I have to create all those pages as separate pages.
Right.
So that's a feature I wish InDesign would have. Are there InDesign features that you wish PowerPoint had for the kind of presentation work you normally do? Not print, but just regular presentation.
How much time do we have? I would say the biggest hands down one would be styling.
Oh,
that's the biggest, one of the biggest efficiencies, especially the biggest one when you're making print documents in PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Word, which in theory is sort of kind of the same platform underneath, like Office, that's had styles, paragraph and character styles for years. And what we've been told is like, well, can't you just port that over to PowerPoint? And what we've been told is that like, oh, it's not that simple. Like, I know it's not that simple, but you're Microsoft.
Right.
I mean, hire another 100 engineers.
Let the AI do it. They can just let the AI do it.
So there's one small hack which I've written about you can kind of get styles in through, you can get up to 9 placeholder style through placeholders, but it's not the way like PowerPoint is. And then object styles is what would be awesome too. I mean,
that's true.
That would be the biggest. And that's one of the things that when I say like I love InDesign for the power, like I feel like a superhero sometimes, like because when I move over to that program and I've got like 50 pages and I'm like, ooh, let me change everything with one click, and it like changed the headers, like the color of them instantly. Like that's amazing. Cool. That it can just run through and do that.
Now you're gonna be,
if there was one thing that you could tell InDesign users who are trying to get their heads wrapped around PowerPoint, what would that be? Because we have a lot of InDesign users who every time they launch PowerPoint they cringe. Right? It's like, I don't want to be here, but I've seen amazing PowerPoint stuff. I've seen you do it. I've seen Joel Simmons and Mike Parkinson, people who are speaking at the Presentation Design Conference, which we probably should have said right at the beginning.
Right.
CreativePro Presentation Design Conference is coming up in March, and I've seen amazing stuff come out of all of you in PowerPoint. But still, a lot of InDesign users are uncomfortable. If there was one thing, what would you do? How would you get them comfortable?
I'll say
three things.
Okay. First thing is, don't get frustrated. It's simply another program. Things are in different places, like every program. You got to learn where those things are, and not like, oh, I don't have my Adobe shortcuts. Well, okay, well, there's a way around that. You can actually, but so don't get frustrated. It's a different program. Things just work a little differently. Number 2 is, don't forget your design training. I can't tell you how many times I've seen like somebody's portfolio, and there's great print work, there's great digital work, there's great branding work, and then they'll have a section for presentation, and it's like, whoa, what did you forget? Color theory and typographic, and like, no, you don't have to use 36-point Arial for headings like at the top left. That there's no law that like they didn't teach you that in design school, so don't forget that. And then so the third thing sort of related to this is, don't think about designing a 20-page presentation in PowerPoint. Think about designing 20 billboards.
20 billboards.
I don't care what program you use. Delete if you I mean, you shouldn't, because they're useful sometimes, but fine. Delete all the placeholders and you have a blank page. Do whatever you want. Like, is this the way you would I always say, is this the way you would design in InDesign? And I've had conversations with the designers and they've said, oh, no, of course not.
Right.
So why does it look differently? Like, are you going to have the typographic control? No. Are you going to be able to kern and, actually you can kern, but are you going to be able to set the tracking perfectly like this, or have your, no. But that is not an excuse for, gross typography and bad colors and things like that.
Those are 3 excellent
I love that. And I love the idea of a billboard. You're building one page or one design, one screen at a time. I want to go back to your comment about we were talking about Better Deck earlier. I love this, that you put together this deck of cards. It's a deck of cards. Which has designs on them, and I love this idea for inspiration. And I actually have one here. I mean, I keep it here because it's so great to be able to pop this open. I'm like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
I left mine in the other room.
How should I design this page, this billboard? That's a great word. And you can just kind of randomly open and go, oh, well, what about this? Why not try this? Why not try that? And just having those cues, having a design cue. I don't know if that's the right word, a cue or a clue or a get a clue. A trigger. It's almost like a trigger. Like I don't know, and I just need a little reminder. Like, oh, have you ever thought of this? And I love that. I love that you've done this.
And you know, it was kind of designed for. So it's a deck of 52 cards that help people not use bullet points on slides. And how do you like? I call it like bullet point block, bullet point block. It's kind of or design. It's like writer's block. You're staring at a slide. It's got a whole bunch of bullets, and you're like, I don't know what to do. Like you don't know where to go. And designers, you just need that inspiration. So these are 52 different variations on where you can put those bullet points and get rid of them and chunk things out. And it was designed for non-designers, but I hear from designers all the time that they use it because it's like, you know, we all have those sort of inspirational, you know, notepads and collections of things. You're like looking for an idea.
Right.
And it's not that designers steal, but although I say, please steal these layouts. But what happens is you're like, oh, that's a good idea. And you copy it. And then you start working with it. And then by the time you're done, it doesn't really look like the previous one, but it's that it gives you that impetus to.
You know, I clearly need the Better Deck because if you rewind 5-10 minutes, I was talking about making builds with my bullet points in InDesign for the presentations I do. Now I'm, you know, pretty humiliated. So I'm going to get that deck thing. I think. It's
wait, do you not have a copy? Do you not? I'll send you a copy.
Okay,
I thought you had a copy.
No, I don't.
All right, give me your address. There's the physical deck. There's the PDF, and there's the PowerPoint source file, so you can literally copy a slide in.
I do remember you talking, and many other people
I'll send you a copy.
Presentation Design Conference about, you know, it's don't use bullets, use other things like, you know, have an image instead of each bullet, have a whatever. That makes so much sense. And you know, personally, whenever I watch a presenter talk and they have bullet points or whatever, they have something, a slide for every point. I think back in my college years in the 1800s, and the lecturer would not have any PowerPoint. They would lecture for 45 minutes. And they might have a few slides or overheads, you know, illustrating some interesting point, but
it's a little known fact, but Einstein did not use PowerPoint. I mean, they think so. Yeah, somehow he still managed to.
Somehow he did. He got his ideas across in some way.
So I want to also tell people who are listening that if you're a CreativePro member, you can download 8 samples from the Better Deck as a CreativePro member from our downloadable section, and we're going to put links in the show notes to that, to the members only downloadable. We're going to put links to the articles that you mentioned. You mentioned that like how to get around PowerPoint's weird inability to do styles. So we'll put links to the various CreativePro articles you've written, because there's a lot there, and of course we'll put links to the Presentation Design Conference that's coming up in March that you're speaking at, doing PowerPoint tips and tricks, basically, and some cool stuff around data.
You should mention it's online, so people don't have to travel to see it.
Good point. Yeah, the Presentation Design Conference is all online, March 5th. That's something I should know.
I'll look it up on
March
my calendar.
6th through 8th in 2024.
Yes, that sounds right. Yeah, and it's a great lineup. It's really a great lineup.
Yeah, exactly. It is an amazing lineup of luminaries in this space. I'm really looking forward to that.
For sure.
So thank you. I just want to say thank you, Nolan, for all of the ways that you are helping all of us get over this, whether it's bullet point block, I love that phrase, the bullet point block, or whether it's the just the PowerPoint allergies, whatever it is. You're helping people get comfortable, which is a core value for me. I just really appreciate that you're like, look, you can do this. You can do this. Just take it one step at a time. So thank you.
Well, and thank you. And again, it's just another program. I've always wanted to bring more designers. Just here's another program. Like use your design skill in a different program. I mean, when I worked in agencies and had a team, I would hire designers first. And okay, if your PowerPoint skills aren't great, we'll teach you that. I can't teach you color theory at the job. So bring those design skills over to another format, and I think you'll be definitely rewarded, because it's a small niche area.
Love that.
It's in big demand.
Thank you so much, Nolan, for visiting
All right,
us this morning.
Good to be on.
All right. Talk to you later. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Excellent. Yes, thank you. That was so great. I'm really looking forward to seeing him again at the Presentation Design Conference.
Yeah.
Online
I forgot
conference.
to give him my address for the freebie. I'll have to email him.
You should email him, exactly. Right. And I'm pretty sure that freebie was for you and not for everyone listening.
I know that.
But there are some freebies that you can get. I mean, I mentioned the freebies if you're a member, CreativePro member.
Right.
There's some freebies, but there are some other things on his site. So definitely check out thebetterdeckdeck.com.
Okay. All right. On to our other topic. The main topic of today is secrets of the longest panel name.
So what is the longest panel name in InDesign?
Well, because
tags? Is it tags?
I had nothing.
Story? No.
I didn't have anything better to do, so I went through and took screenshots, and then opened them up in Acrobat, and then did recognize text, and then exported that to Word, so that I could do a character count of every paragraph.
Did you really do that?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the heck? That's painful.
And the answer is in Window Interactive, the EPUB Interactivity Preview panel is the longest panel.
EPUB Interactivity Preview panel. I love it. That is the longest name, and it's also one of the most deceptive names because it's not just for EPUB, and it's not for all EPUBs.
That's right.
So tell us about that.
My first gripe, because I use it a lot because I do a lot of InDesign to EPUB courses and training and projects, is that as you said, it's not for all EPUBs. If you think it's a way for you to see what your InDesign layout will look like in an e-reader, like a Kindle or an iPad, no, it won't.
Yeah, not going to work.
It's not a previewer for reflowable EPUBs. It is a previewer for non-reflowable. Now I'm not remembering the name. For non-reflowable EPUBs, which is also known as a fixed layout EPUB. You can see how often I do that. You can. A fixed layout EPUB is kind of like a publish online thing that it supports basically all of the kinds of interactivity you can do in InDesign other than PDF form fields, but animations and builds and slideshows and that kind of stuff it can do. So you can
I think of it as PDF. It's PDF. Fixed layout EPUB is PDF the way you expect PDF to work, with animations and videos and
not including the forms.
But not including the forms. That's a good point. That's a good point.
So but it's still very useful because sometimes there's some aspects of a PDF that does support interactivity. For example, buttons. You can make a button in InDesign and then have it roll over and have it linked to some place, like to the next page, next chapter, somewhere out in the World Wide Web. But how do you see if it's working right? You don't have to export to interactive PDF and then open up an Acrobat, blah, blah, blah. You can just quickly hop over to the EPUB Interactivity Preview panel, open it up, and here's a tip, is that you should make that panel, I would either make it really large and covering basically the entire document page and the doc and the tools, or when you add it to your doc, like say that you have a workspace called My Interactive Workspace or something, when you add it there, expand it, and then you can just use the arrows on the corners to make it really large, because its default size is really tiny, and your red button that's supposed to turn green is about the size of a micron and a half, so you want it really large, almost like a PDF preview, looking like a PDF, and then save that. So then when you go to the EPUB Interactivity Preview panel, it remembers the last size, and it resizes the page or spread that you're on to fill there. That's my first tip, is make
I love that tip.
Large.
But I want to go back to the naming problem, that just quickly, it's not necessarily about EPUB. I think that's the key. So I think we should just take the name EPUB out entirely. It's just the interactivity panel.
I agree 100%.
It's just let's just call it the interactivity panel, and then people will find it. So in the interactivity, hopefully they'll find it.
I mean, in the
interactivity panel,
interactive layout.
And I love your point about about making it big, because this is the big and the number one problem is this is too small. But you can make it really big. You can fill your entire screen with that panel.
Yes.
I mean, I don't usually make it that big, but I'll typically make it maybe half the size or 2/3 of the size of my entire screen, because I want to get a really good view of my document. And then I use the keyboard shortcut, which is Option Shift Enter or Alt Shift Enter.
That's right.
Return, whatever. You get it. Option Shift Return or Enter will make it appear and close it. But I love your point about put it in your doc, make it big, and then use those keyboard shortcuts to open and close it.
Right.
It's so
and I would
much faster.
save it as a custom workspace.
Yes,
Otherwise,
yes.
you go back to advanced or essentials, it's going to forget that completely.
Yes.
Even if it was a standalone.
Yeah,
panel.
I think it's so important when you're doing, like you said, buttons, video, animations, all those things. You need to be using this panel to really get a sense of what you've got instead of having to export. Now
you could also call it the Publish Online Preview panel too, right?
That's true.
Okay. So interactivity preview panel, I think, or interactivity, preview is great.
Yeah, that basically works. Another trick to that though is when you open the interactivity preview panel. Still too long to say comfortably.
Just say interactivity preview, because the word panel is not really in the...
Okay, when you open the interactivity preview, it by default just shows one page, basically one spread at a time. And so if you're doing multiple pages, if you have, let's go to next page button, that go to next page button is not going to do anything. It'll roll over.
Like, oh, I broke it. It doesn't work.
That's right. But it's just because by default you're only seeing one spread, and it does that because technically when you open that panel, the first thing that InDesign does, you'll notice that it just pauses for a moment. It's literally exporting your spread to disk as a cache file as HTML. It's making an HTML version of your document just like an EPUB, and it takes a quick moment to do that. And so it's trying to go fast, and so it just does one spread. All the items on your spread turn into HTML on your desk, and then it shows that inside the panel. If you need to see the whole document, then you have to go into there and choose a different button. In the lower right corner, there's another button there that says Export the whole document. And if you do that...
Also set preview document mode.
Yes.
And the other one says set preview spread mode.
There you go.
So spread mode is the default.
Exactly. Now, I believe that when you do that, you still have to go click the play button again in the lower left corner, because the play button, again, literally exports everything, either the spread or the document, to disk as an HTML and then displays it inside the panel.
I didn't know that's how the magic happened.
That's the magic.
That's interesting to learn.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's cool because the links also work, so you don't have to use the hyperlink panel to check your links, which is very convenient. I love that panel.
I love that.
But you can click the links that go to the web right inside the interactivity preview panel, and they work.
This is something that Adobe changed a few versions ago, and they didn't really make a big deal out of it unless you're a developer. But the panels... remember when they got rid of Flash? All the Flash stuff went away? They replaced them with HTML panels. All these panels are literally HTML browsers. And so that interactivity preview panel is just like a little browser window that InDesign behind the scenes is just showing HTML in. And it's interesting because there are third-party developers who use that technology for other things. They put HTML that's on the web inside an InDesign panel, so it's kind of clever that way. It's a minor technical issue, but it's kind of cool that that's the way it's working. Those are web browsers. Yeah.
I noticed that it does not have a panel menu, which is kind of sad. There should be a way to. Yeah. There should be some features there.
There's no panel menu in the upper right corner.
Nope. It's naked. One of the few that are naked.
That is very weird. Good catch.
Great
Definitely good
Jeopardy question.
Yes.
All right. What is the which panel does not have what? Okay.
Are there other panels that don't?
I'm pretty sure I've run across. Now we're not going to spend 20 minutes opening up every single panel.
I am.
But
okay. But not right now. Not right now.
Right. Not right now.
I think that's the majority of it. That's the stuff that people need to know about the interactivity preview. Use it. It's fun. Try it out. and use that keyboard shortcut, Option-Shift-Return or Alt-Shift-Enter.
That's right. Even the scripts panel has a panel menu. Of course, I had to look at all the ones in my doc.
Yeah. Are there
the
other
scripts
ones?
panel has one. Like, why would you? What other features other than running the script? But there's run script, edit script, enable redraw. I don't know what that's
we
for.
are literally going to go through all the panels right now.
Let's not do it.
We just said we weren't going to do this.
Let's go on to the obscure feature of the week, Geeky. And if you panel that does not have a panel menu, please add it to the show notes or email us. Okay?
Yes, do that. Everything has one. Everything's got one.
And now you're going through them. David,
I am.
Let's move on to your obscure feature. Apply to parent.
I found one.
Oh, you did? Okay, what?
The story panel. The story panel under the type menu does not have a menu as well. Okay. Now, if we missed any, let us know. Put it in the
there's
show notes.
another one. There's the auto style one. Style packs.
Style packs is not a feature. That's a bug. That entire panel is a bug.
All right. Fine.
I would not use that if you poked me with a
style pack.
It'll get better someday. Hey, yes, let's talk about the obscure InDesign feature of the week. Eek. Apply to parent page only. And you were saying that you weren't sure where this lived.
I am guessing that it's somewhere in the Pages panel menu.
Does sound like a Pages panel menu kind of thing. The parent page, which used to be called Master Pages. But this is a feature that it affects whether or not something works based on whether it's on a parent page or not. So there's a feature in InDesign that you're telling InDesign. I'm just going to tell you where it is.
Yeah,
it's in the text wrap panel in the menu. The text wrap panel does have a panel menu in the upper right corner, and if you have an object,
that is really the only thing other than show or hide options.
Isn't that funny? So
I never knew that was there.
If you have an object on a parent page, and it has text wrap, you can tell InDesign, should this text wrap apply everywhere, which it does by default. It applies on the parent pages and on the document pages. Or should it only affect text that's on the parent page, which I have been trying to think of a reason why I'd use this, and I can't. But there's got to... I mean, someone must have needed this years ago because Adobe added it.
Apply to parent page only.
Yeah. So
tell me again what it does. You're on the document page.
So
you see that master page item, and it runs around the master page item because that's what I've set when I added it to the parent page.
Yeah.
That is. And
okay, let me give you a scenario that you might bizarrely run into this. You open a document. Someone sends you a document, and they say, "Hey, my text wrap's not working. I've done everything, but I cannot get. I have something that has text wrap, and the text won't wrap around it on my document pages." And they send it to you, and you look at it, and you go, "Oh, well, that object is on the master page, or the parent page." And so you're like, "What the heck? Why?" And you go to the parent page, and it has text wrap on it. It should affect the document pages, but it's not. And that's when you think to yourself, "Oh, wait, there's a secret hidden feature, which is so obscure you don't even think about it, which says the text wrap will only apply on master pages. It will not apply to any document pages." So I don't think you're going to ever run into this, but if you did, if you're trying to troubleshoot something, you should know you can make the text wrap only affect text on a parent page, and it won't affect anything on document pages.
And that's the only time when that option becomes selectable. Otherwise, it's dimmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only when you have something with text wrap on the master page and you've selected it.
Yeah.
Then you'll see that.
Parent
I
page.
suppose you have a very busy background, or you have like a box in the header and you want the text to wrap around that box.
Okay.
Then
sure.
And you don't want anything on the document page to wrap around? I don't know.
Somebody needed this. Someone needed this, and so they decided to add it. And there you go. Now you know. It's pretty obscure. There's all kinds of stuff in InDesign. You never know.
That's right. Okay. All right. Well, that is it for episode 315. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Now I have my script that has run around and I can't find anything. Be sure to check out the show notes on our blog at creativepro.com, where we'll have links to all of the places that we mentioned. We'd love to hear what you thought of the show. Leave a comment in the show notes. Start a topic on the InDesign Secrets groups on either Facebook. By the way, I just checked. There's over 30,000 members of that Facebook group now.
Oof.
That's pretty astounding.
It's amazing.
Or LinkedIn, which also has tens of thousands of members.
And helpful, friendly members. That's what's amazing to me is it's not like, you go there and if you ask a question in that Facebook group, you'll get an answer within like minutes.
That's right.
It's the most amazing thing. So cool. I love
Rep
that.
codes, scripts, all kinds of stuff.
So great.
So until we meet again, this is Anne-Marie Concepcion and
David Blatner for InDesign Secrets.
No, David PowerPoint InDesign Blatner.
David PowerPoint InDesign, David Pi Blatner for InDesign Secrets.